All right, good people. It's your boy Cool McCain. I'm joined by other way, Eagles Diva. So it's actually the right way now. These technology be confusing sometimes. But anyway, this is Eagles Elite Podcast, episode 13, y'all, season 4. We rocking this thing. We already know what it is. We got our Eagles updates. You know we're gonna talk about this trade, what we think about it. We're gonna talk about the depth chart. We got 2 more games to talk about. And then on top of that, we get a little off-season discussions, all that good stuff. And hey, it's Bird Game. And just in case anybody forgot, we them champs. I know the guys have moved on, but it took us a whole end of this season to get there. So until and if somebody defeat us, until then we the reigning and defending world champs. One thing about me, as much slack if I caught over the years being an Eagles fan, now that we winning, ain't let nobody forget that. That's for real. I've said it many times. There was a time we were never sure if we was going to see 1. I done seen 2. I believe we might be on the way to 3.
Yes, sir. Let's go. I hope so.
Hey, we got to get there. You know what I'm saying? We working on it. We doing everything in our power to get there. It's just a matter of making things happen. But before we get too much into it, got to get the extra hypeness. Let's go.
The kick is away, and the kick it's good! And the Eagles win!
It's hard to come to South Philadelphia and leave here with the win. You just don't come to Philadelphia and leave here with the win.
Eagles fans everywhere, this is for you. Let the celebration begin.
All right, y'all. So it's time to get into it. I mean, we keep it pretty slick, pretty simple around these parts. Ain't nothing too different. So we're gonna start off with some updates. I'm gonna let Diva go and kick off the updates because I know there's a few things she's gonna say that I would probably say, but she might even say better. Diva, what you got for us?
No, I don't got nothing. Well, I mean, I've been in the loop, but kind of been out this week. I just heard about the trade that we did. I was actually surprised that came as a surprise to trade Booker. I know there was a lot of praise about Booker, but we traded Thomas Booker, to the Raiders for cornerback Jakarian Bennett. I've heard good things about Jakarian Bennett coming from the Raiders. He's played a total of 450 snaps. 18 records allowed, 37 targets, 176 yards allowed, 0 TDs allowed, 6.2.4 QBR rating, and held Jamar Chase for 316. So I think that's a huge trade. I think that, I felt more confident with the CB line now because it was a little shaky there for a second, but I feel a little bit more confident that we got some extra depth because depth is always important. But yeah, other than that, we just ready for this. We'll have more updates next week as we have our first preseason game. Tomorrow officially kicks off preseason.
Yeah, so we have a lot of good information. A lot of good things happened this week. So I'll go through a couple of those. Not too much. We'll go through a couple of those. So talked about the trade for Jakarian Bennett. When we get to the off-season stuff, we go through the depth chart, I'll talk a little bit more about that. So there is one of the battles that we kind of got a little quick update on. So pass rusher, right? Right now, Josh Uche is getting a little bit of a lead over Aziz Ojulari. So what's important about this is this helps make some other guys expendable because we have some guys that we use kind of at linebacker, but they're more of like an edge rusher in the 3-4. So Uche's kind of trying to make up some ground here. Right now, of course, the starters are Jaylus Hunt and Nolan Smith, and we'll talk about that in a little bit more detail once we get there. Huff didn't get it done. Swift left for money. Graham retired. So we had to bring in some new guys, right? So guys that kind of came, Josh Uche, Azeez Ojulari, Patrick Johnson, draft pick Antoine Power Rowland Jr., and then we went and got Ogbo Arankwo. I keep saying it wrong. So you kind of get the depth, and then you kind of try to see who fights, who beats who out. So that's just a little piece of information. Looks like right now Uche is kind of sliding up there and making some things happen. There's also a couple of rookies we have that haven't really impressed as of yet that Sirianni is high on. And I think it's good, right? I think it's good for the coach to be believing in players. So we've got 3 preseason games, of course. Like David said, the first one will be this week. But Aniyah Smith and Johnny Wilson, they really haven't done it a lot. These are wide receivers, of course. But they still have a lot of belief. Sirianni still has a good belief in them. And why I like that is it shows that this team is saying we're going to see what we get from guys, and we're not going to just, hey, if you haven't done it as of yet, that means you can't do it, right? And that's been something that's I feel like has plagued the Eagles in the past, like kind of giving up on guys too fast or waiting too long, but not hitting that sweet middle spot. So we kind of in that middle spot with those guys. So hopefully those are guys that step up, but if not, guys, you can end up not where you want to be. And that's just what it is. So we got some injury updates. AJ and Zach are still sitting. AJ Brown with the hamstring, Bond with the back issue.
Well, actually, AJ, that's kind of new.
They are at every practice, though. So what's good about that is you got guys that know the system, how to play. Go ahead.
So that AJ Brown kind of new. I said that AJ Brown injury is kind of new. I know Smitty was out, but then AJ got hit with that hamstring earlier in the week. I was like, oh, Lord, here we go.
Yep. So Montrell Johnson is another player, has a hamstring injury that's got him sidelined. Our lone snapper injured his neck, so we had to sign somebody else. But all the guys who are injured are at practice. And the Kobe Dean was toting the sled, which means that he's getting a little bit better. Andrew Makuba and Mac McWilliams did return to action as well. What this does is this allows other guys to get a lot more snaps, because if your starters are injured, then you're having to play other guys, and then those other guys get opportunities that they may not get. Look at it kind of like the Browns with Shadur Sanders, right? He's starting the game against the Panthers because of the injuries to other quarterbacks. On the actual depth chart, from what everybody said, he's 4th, but he's getting the opportunity. So now it's a matter of you get the opportunity and what you do with it. And that's the same thing we're looking at with a lot of our young fringe guys that we'll be talking about it on the cusp of maybe making a roster, maybe being a practice squad, and maybe just getting straight cut. So they're going to have more opportunities because guys like AJ Brown are hurt. Some of the guys on defense like Zach Bond and different guys are injured or maybe kept out for precautionary reasons. So when those guys are out, other guys show up. A lot of people put a lot of stock into winning or losing in the preseason. Not saying everybody does, but a lot of people do. I put stock in getting everybody out of the preseason healthy, but getting some snaps for the snaps, not snacks for the starters. what we have happen a lot of time is we don't play our starters enough, right? And it did work out for us last year, but I think a lot of teams are learning like, hey, we only got 3 preseason games, so we need to actually give our starters at least like a quarter and a half in the first preseason game, and maybe see if we can get them a little bit of action in the second one. So I hope we had the vision to do that. In the third preseason game, I understand. Starters only need to dress. Because there's no way we put them out there. But those first couple of games, got to make that thing happen. So yeah, we'll just kind of move on there from the news point of view, because like I said, I want to make sure we get into these 2 games, divisional games, right? We know who we played. We know who it was. It was the same 2 of those teams that we play every year. In the Commanders and the Cowboys. So let's get to this first one here in a moment. Just waiting for the info to pull back up. Y'all know how technology be. It be tripping. Everything's good. Then you get on live. You start. Yeah, that's the game we're talking about. That second game against the Commanders. That's that one. Yeah. We had talk about a lot of wins we had where we were saying like, man, we won that game, but it wasn't the best. So this is game 15, of course. 2 more games after this. What I can say about this game is I actually, in the grand scheme, feel like this was a good time to lose. And I'll tell you why. Most people say, oh, you lose the game, you're talking about. It was a close loss. Hurts was out really early in this game. He didn't do a lot. Barkley did his thing, but he did a lot of that early. But what we did see was that guys that we had some other guys to at least step up. Kenny Pickett almost won this game. And here's what's crazy about it. We get his stats. 14 of 24 for 143 yards, a touchdown, and an interception. Of course, Saquon, 29 carries, 150 yards, 2 touchdowns. Brown had 8 receptions, 97 yards, and a tutty. Right? So you had guys that did perform. Washington, on the other hand, and Dave will give you the other ones, but I'll just give you some of these right here. Jaden Daniels was a leading passer and rusher for the Commanders. He had 24-39 for 258, 5 touchdowns and 2 picks. 9 carries for 81 yards. Olamide Zaccheaus, the ex-Eagle, 5 receptions for 70 yards and 2 touchdowns. That felt good for him. But the thing is, CJGJ got kicked out of this game. Really, I feel like bogus reasons. Hurts only had 4 attempts in this game. And then the rest of that was pretty much Pickett. So the problem is a lot of Commander fans, were saying, oh, yeah, we beat the Eagles, blah, 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 blah. And, I'm not one of those people that's like, oh, you only beat us because we had a backup quarterback, right? But I did like to remind those guys between this and then that championship game when we played them again in the NFC Championship. You barely beat the team with Kenny Pickett. So to feel comfortable that you were going to win another game against the Eagles in the playoffs is kind of crazy based off this. There's a lot of people talking smack. Oh, the Eagles lost to the Commanders this and the Commanders that. They beat us, right? I'm not going to sit here and spend 10 minutes lamenting that we had somebody get injured. It is what it is. It's part of the game. Cats get hurt. Cats get kicked out of the game. We had an opportunity. We didn't quite make it happen. And we ended up losing. Kenny Pickett tried to run the ball. He only had 13 yards on 3 carries. Hurts had 3 before he got hurt for 41 yards. So, Hurts was able to get it done. Saquon was running well. When you take away Jalen Hurts, and this is something that I wanted to touch on real quick. People talk about, with Saquon and that offense, you could put anybody back there. The big thing has been buddy for the Chargers, Justin Herbert. If you put Justin Herbert in his offense, he's going to unlock so much. Justin Herbert does not have the ability to run. The QB option goes away with Justin Herbert. So if that ball is tucked in to be handed off, it's going to Saquon. And not saying that Saquon couldn't do the same thing, but when you have to also watch the QB and his ability to run, that helps open up lanes for Saquon. He said that. He said that after this game. One of the things that's been helpful is it's a mutually beneficial relationship between Saquon and Jalen. It's not, Saquon is this and that, and I'm not saying that he's not. I'm not going to sit there and try to disrespect him and say he's not, but I'm going to say, like, you got to understand they work together. You know what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. Saquon is better off back there with a mobile quarterback like Jalen. Jalen's better back there with Saquon because they both can break off big runs, because sometimes you have to make a decision, and you might make the wrong decision. But back to the actual game. The defense still played pretty good. Fought hard. We just didn't get it done. There's a lot of complaints you can make, some calls, different things. But at the end of the day, it's football. We lost the game, but you want to get an L out the way. And it just so happened that it was against a team that kind of was feeling itself a little bit after this dub. They kind of overfelt themselves. And we'll talk about in a couple of weeks. There was a third game. We'll talk about what happened. We all know, but we'll talk about it. So, Diva, your thoughts on this game?
I felt like this game was a setup from jump. I'm just gonna be honest. I mean, they came into this game running their mouths. Brian was running his mouth. Everybody was running their mouths. So it was just mighty odd that Jalen got taken out in like the first quarter. And the hit that was done on Jalen, in my opinion, should have been a helmet to helmet. So really that should have been a flag, but there wasn't a flag there. And we know that same dirty player did the same thing. I want to say it was to the team before that. I can't remember who they played before that, but we seen that same thing. I think it actually happened in the Detroit game. It did. And Jared Goff ended up having a concussion. And so the same thing happened to Jalen. And they knew that, I guess they felt like if they take out Jalen, that's a W for us. But like my brother said, they barely beat us with Kenny Pickett. Kenny Pickett surprisingly played really well. We got the Kenny Pickett that we see here and there, and when he was in Pittsburgh, but he played his tail off. I mean, he did have 13 yards in rushing, which Kenny Pickett's slow as molasses, but he still had 13 yards in rushing.
Country molasses too.
Like that slow running molasses. You hear me?
Mm-hmm. It's thick, slow molasses.
AJ Brown had 97 yards for one tutty. He threw that to AJ Brown. Smitty only had 51 yards, six touches. Kenny Gainwell had 1 for 6. Saquon had no receiving. As far as the defense went, Zach Bond was the absolute monster. He was the top tackler out of that game. Second came Nakobe Dean with 6 assists. Even No Play Slay played in that game. I don't even know if he came out that game. I think he did. I didn't think he came back in. But he had 5 tackles. Reed Blankenship had 5. Nolan Smith had 3. Tristan McCullum had 2. Jalen Carter had 2. Dijon had 1. Milton Williams had 1. But yeah, the defense played very well. I felt like after CJ was ejected from the game, felt like that's when the defense lost their momentum a little bit. As you see, we were able to let Jaden Daniels run a 14-yard on a third down. It was either third or fourth down. He was able to gain 14 yards. I don't know what was going on, why nobody knew where their man was supposed to be at, who was supposed to be covering, but that was not supposed to happen. And then we just had, a few mistakes at the end. I know everybody was mad at Smitty because he dropped the ball. I think we had like 2 minutes to go when they felt like people had on that game. It happens. I mean, it happens. So I mean, we lost. It wasn't a blowout or nothing. You know what I'm saying? They barely beat us, but that was an L we did take at the end. I don't expect to take that L, but we took it. But then we came back out knowing we was gonna see him again. And we knew Jalen would be back. So, yeah.
Yeah, it was. I mean, it ain't too much on that one. Like I said, it gave us a chance to see other guys and what happens when other guys play. That's what we needed. You know what I'm saying? We weren't gonna win every game from the bye until the playoffs. So losing this one, I feel was. I mean, you don't ever want to lose a game, but I feel like it was like, all right, we lost this game. It is what it is. But now we can regroup and get right. We just need to make sure that we secure that number 2 seed, because this loss knocked us out of the ability to get the number 1 seed for all intents and purposes. Numerically, we were still in there, but it's knocked us out for all intents and purposes. But I think the path that we took was the path that got us where we needed to be. So I'm okay with it. In hindsight, I will say at the time, I wasn't the happiest about losing that game. But, you got to look at it from all perspectives. As fans of the team, you got to look at it and say, all right, we're going to go undefeated. So losing to a team that's going to be kind of motivating to us may have been a good thing. So to me, it ended up being a little bit of a gift for us.
That was a motivation.
It's hard to beat a team 3 times. And taking this L, splitting with them, they gave us that third matchup like, all right, the Commanders come in like, yeah, we beat them week 15, blase, bliggity, blah. They beat us when our quarterback was hurt. So they can't complain about their quarterback not playing because our quarterback had bruised ribs when we played him the first time and all that. Okay. It's all good.
Even compare. Your quarterback was still in the game. Ours was out for 2 games.
It's all good. You know why it's all good?
It's all good.
It's one thing that matters. It's one thing that matters.
That ring and that trophy, that Lombardi.
Yep. So they enjoyed their time. They had their ability to be who they wanted to be, and they did their thing. Not gonna knock them. But what I am gonna say is, don't come like that no more. Don't do that.
Yeah. Listen, I knew they messed up when they went and dressed up Rocky. I don't know why y'all didn't learn the team prior, San Francisco 49ers, when they dressed up Rocky, but that's one thing you don't do.
Anytime you do that, it's an L for you. We're gonna slide on into our off-season discussions, and we're gonna start with our updated depth chart going into the first week of the preseason. Again, we always use our lads. We found them to be pretty accurate, if not 100% accurate. So, and of course, this is subject to change. We're going to talk about it now. It's still a couple of days for the game, so some things could move around. But based on what we have, that's what we're going to roll with. So we're going to start with the defense, and then we'll come back to the offense because we normally start with the offense. At defensive end, after the trade of Thomas Booker, there's Moro Ojomo as the starting defensive end. Behind him, we have Byron Young. And behind him, Jacob Sykes. All right, and nose tackle, of course, Jordan Davis. Now behind him, Ty Robinson, 4th round pick in 2025. And then behind him, Joe Evans. All right, at defensive tackle, of course, Jalen Carter's a starter. Behind him, Gabe Hall. So that's our front of that 3-4. Defensive end, nose tackle, defensive tackle. Any thoughts on that, Diva?
No, it's expected. I just, if Davis go out, which hopefully he won't have to go out as much as he did since he's lost all that weight. He said he wanted to be able to be in the game longer. But just see how those backups are going to do, if them guys have to take a breather. But other than that, I mean, I knew Ojomo. I listened to his press conference and, just as the other people talk about him, I knew that, he would make that spot and be good at that spot. He's getting better. They said he's got a weird way of getting down like when he's in position. So, yeah.
All right, we're going to go to the linebacker group next. Left outside linebacker, Nolan Smith is the starter. Behind him is Azeez Ojulari. Of course, that was the unrestricted free agent we got from the Giants. Agbo Okoronkwo I'm just gonna start calling him Agbo O.
Right.
He's the third left outside linebacker, and then fourth is Ochan Mathis. Right outside linebacker, we got Jalix Hunt, and then Josh Uche is his backup. Antoine Powell-Ryland is the third stringer, and then Patrick Johnson is fourth. All right, at wide linebacker, we have Zach Bond. This is a starter. Well, wheel linebacker. I said wide, but it's wheel linebacker, excuse me. Jeremiah Trout Jr. is his backup. And then Dallas Grant is the third stringer. At middle linebacker, Nakobe Dean is at the number one spot, but of course he's been hurt. Behind him, Jahad Campbell, who's getting better himself. Third stringer is Smael Mondon Jr., and then fourth is Lance Dixon. Any thoughts on the linebacker group, Diva?
Nope, pretty solid to me.
I'm interested to see how Campbell plays, if he beats out Smael Mondon or not.
I think
And if he does,
from listening to Vic, I think he will. I know Vic said there's still a lot of things he's got to learn, but they've also put a lot on his plate. But I think by the time the season starts, I think he probably will. That's in my opinion.
All right, then we go to strong safety. Strong safety, we got Sidney Brown. His backup is Andrew Makuba, our second-round pick in 2025. And Jahad Campbell, by the way, was the first-round pick. Smael Mondon was our fifth-round pick. And then Powell-Ryland was our sixth-round pick this year. So, as last year, a lot of picks on defense. Because of what we were losing, it made a lot of sense. Wasn't mad about it at all. So, strong safety, of course, Sidney Brown, Andrew Makuba, and then Andre Sam, and then Max Hook. Maxon Hook is the fourth. Strong safety. At free safety, Reed Blankenship is the starter. Tristan McCollum is his backup. And then Lewis is either sign or seen. I say sign. Is the third stringer. At corner, left corner, and this is updated after the trade. Left corner, we have Keely Ringo. Adoree Jackson is his backup. Perry Nickerson is the third. And then Tariq Castro Fields is fourth. On the right side, it gets interesting. Quinyon Mitchell is still the starter. Jacorian Bennett right now is his backup. And then Eli Ricks is the third stringer on the right side. So I think a lot of people, honestly kind of including myself, felt like we were bringing in Bennett because we weren't confident in Ringo and Jackson. But perhaps we were bringing in Bennett because whenever Quinyon Mitchell leaves the field, we don't want to have a drop-off in play. So that's going to be interesting to look into.
Or they might play both sides.
Right. Then again, he's just getting there. So once they get him acclimated, we may see him flip sides and move up a little bit. We'll see how it goes. But I did think it was interesting. On the initial depth chart after his trade, Bennett was the backup to Quinyon Mitchell. Now, again, he's behind. He's just coming in. Doesn't know the playbook yet. Doesn't know the calls. So there's a lot that he needs to catch up on, right? But we're going to see how it goes by the time we get to the regular season. And it's still not nothing to sneeze at to be the backup to Quinyon Mitchell when you don't even know the playbook yet. So still not nothing to sneeze at. It's just interesting how that starts. And in the nickel, of course, we got Cooper DeJean, who will be playing some safety in base when we don't have the nickel corner on the field. Mac McWilliams is his backup, the fifth-round pick in 2025. So you see what I'm saying? First-round pick, second-round pick, fourth round, fifth round, and sixth round were all defensive picks in 2025. Then we got A.J. Woods as the third nickel corner and Brandon Johnson as the fourth nickel corner. So in the secondary, cornerback, safety, Any thoughts?
Not really. I'm just, hearing, trying to keep my ears to the ground about Sidney Brown. I'm actually hearing that Eli Ricks has been improving, so he might be trying to move himself up finally. But yeah, listen to finally. But listening to Vic Fangio talk about Sidney, he basically said the same thing that I say. Sidney Brown, like his brain, his feet work faster than his brain. So once he get those two things together, I think he'll be good. My only worry with Sidney Brown is always going to be the injury. So that might be, if Sidney Brown does actually get injured, that might be a chance for Eli Ricks. So I need for Eli to get himself together, because there's a possibility that you might have to come in, my bro, because we don't know if Sidney Brown's going to be healthy one way or the other. So that's my thoughts on that. I know Makuba is working really hard. I know he said he goes to Blankenship with a lot of his questions. So that'd be interesting to see. And yeah, with Jakarian, I think that's a good thing that we actually have another backup when Quinyon need a breather, because you can't always have a boy out there on the field the whole 4 quarters. So you got to get a breather.
And Eli Ricks possibly playing safety is an interesting concept. Because the way he likes to hit, that might not be a bad thing. And Vic preaches moving people around, so we'll see if he actually does it. But he definitely preaches it.
It's good to have versatile people, because you never know when you're going to need somebody in a certain spot. And if you don't really got the depth like that, you need versatile people. So Vic is big on being versatile. Like, you got to be able to play multiple positions.
Very, very true. So we're going to do wide receivers and tight ends together, since, for all intents and purposes, most of our team, you're gonna be catching the ball. So left wide receiver, starter, of course, AJ Brown, number 11, swole Batman back in the day. Behind him, still number 2, Johnny Wilson, our 6th round pick in 24. 3rd string, Elijah Cooks. 4th string, Darius Cooper. So it's interesting how they do this. So the right wide receiver, they have Jahan Dotson as the starter, Terrence Marshall as his backup, Taylor Morin as the 3rd stringer, and then Ife Adiyi as the 4th stringer. At the split wide receiver, they have Devontae Smith as your starter, Anaya Smith is his backup, Avery Williams is the 3rd stringer, and then Giles Jackson is the 4th string. So what I would say we need to look at is, I think, from what I'm seeing right now, we're definitely keeping 6 receivers, right? So that's the 3 starters, the 3 backups for sure. We could keep a 7th if it's who has been a guy who worked on kickoffs and punts in the past, but they might be looking at Anaya Smith for that as well. So we'll see how that plays out too. Just if they're going to keep 6 or 7, and if they keep 7, which one of those guys from the 3rd line would be that 7th? Because it could be Morin. I've heard some good things about him as well. But Smith being on that 2nd line and being a guy that can that can also do kickoffs and punt returns, he could make the team. Avery Williams can make it as another guy that can do that as well. So we'll kind of see how that battle plays out. We got a lot of tight ends right now, y'all. We're not keeping all these guys, but we got a lot of tight ends. So, of course, the starter, we got Dallas Goedert. His backup is Grant Calcaterra. 3rd stringer is Kylan Granson from Indianapolis, who signed as unrestricted free agent. 4th is Harrison Bryant, another unrestricted free agent we signed from the Raiders. 5th is Nick Muse. 6th is E.J. Jenkins. And then 7th is Cameron Latu. We're not keeping more than 3 of these guys, I don't think, at tight end, at max. So we'll probably see the 4th guy end up being on the practice squad if he doesn't get scooped up somewhere, more than likely. But that's what we're seeing now. I'm going to go ahead and throw quarterbacks in here while we're doing this real quick, and then we'll talk about it. Quarterback, of course, Jalen Hurts is the starter, QB1, all for real. Behind him right now, second is Tanner McKee. Third is our 6th-round draft pick this year, Kyle McCord, another 6th-round draft pick we had because we had multiple picks. You know how we do. And then fourth on the depth chart, not surprised, Dorian Thompson-Robinson. Pretty sure he's going to stay there and be the one unless Kyle McCord just is not ready to be a NFL wide receiver. Quarterback. So, Diva, your thoughts on the wide receiver, tight end?
I think the wide receiver spot is very interesting. It's been a while since we've had that many wide receivers. I'm just hoping we actually keep a Nice Smith this time because we've always put that boy on the practice squad, never really given him a chance. I've heard good things about him, so I'm hoping that we can keep him. From the way it's looking, we're going to need these backup wide receivers. As we seen last year, Smitty went down with a hamstring, concussion. AJ went out with a hamstring, so you need solid backups. I'm hearing a lot that Jalen and Jahan Dotson have been connecting more and in practice together, which I was a little confused about that. Like, so were y'all not in practice together last year? Okay. So hopefully we'll see more connections with Jalen and Jahan, which that could have been the reason why, because we said that if Jalen doesn't have a connection with you, he's really not going to throw you the ball. So we knew something wasn't right. But I feel like in that wide receiver spot, we do need to keep at least 3 or 4 extras because, when AJ and Smitty was out, that was rough. We had to really depend on the tight ends. He had to depend on Jahan Dotson a lot. And Wilson. I'm hoping Wilson can up his game this year because, he's a big wide receiver. So you need that big body like AJ to catch that ball and bully people around down that field. So that's very interesting to me. The tight end spot, we need somebody to back up Grant Calcaterra because love Dallas Goedert, but there's not a season that my boy is not injured one way or the other. So I'm expecting an injury from Dallas Goedert. If he don't get injured this year, it will be a miracle. But you at least need to have somebody to back up Katerra like we had Jack Driscoll, but we got rid of him. So Katerra got to definitely have a backup just in case Dallas Goedert goes down. QB, I'm not surprised by that. Tanner McKee has been working his way up in the game from what I'm hearing, and he's getting better and better. So I don't know. Dorian might be the one that might be let go, might be cut from the team.
I expected that the whole time, to be honest with you. So that won't be a surprise to me at all. I expected McCord to make the team over him. 100%. All right. Move on here, and we will hit up the brain. Had a brain fart. My bad, y'all. We'll hit up the offensive line. So, offensive line, we've got Jordan Mailata at left tackle. Behind him, Kendall Lamb, 3rd string, Miles Hinton, 6th-round pick in 2025. And then 4th, Holland Pierce, another pick. Miles Hinton. I say Hinton Miles Hinton. My bad, y'all. Left guard, Landon Dickerson, starter. We know that. Behind him, Kenyon Green. The guy we got to trade from Houston. And behind him, we got our 5th-round pick in 2024, Trevor Keegan. I'm a little concerned that Kenyon Green is a backup right now. I've not really heard much. At least I haven't seen much positive about Kenyon Green. So we'll see. Maybe there's stuff and just hasn't gotten out, or maybe I missed it. But based off what I've heard and what I've seen about him, surprised he's a backup. At center, Cam Jurgens. His backup is Drew Kendall, a 5th-round pick in 2025. I'll tell you, we had a lot of picks. I expected a lot of them to make the team. Brett Toth is the 3rd-string center. Right guard, Tyler Steen, 3rd-round pick in 2023. This is, I think, as one of our viewers was saying last week, this is the year you want to be that starter. He's getting a lot of good positive feedback and praise from the team as well. Matt Pryor is the right guard backup. And then Darian Kennard is the third stringer at right guard. At right tackle, we know there's Big Lane Johnson. His name is Cameron Williams, another 6th-round pick in 2025. And I'm going to do my best with this one. The third stringer is Leakin Vakalahi. I think that's right, Leakin Vakalahi. So that's your offensive line for first preseason game. And real quick, what up, E Money? E Money Bentley in the building with the Go Birds. Go Birds all day, every day. All right, Diva. Any thoughts on offensive line?
Well, I hear you because I had technical difficulties, so I got kicked out.
So basically, the starters. Backups, Kendall Lamb, Kenyon Green, Drew Kendall, and Matt Pryor and Cameron Williams are your second stringers. Third stringers, Miles Hinton, Trevor Keegan, Brett Toth, Darian Kennard, and Leakin Vakalahi. And that's going from left tackle to right tackle. So Kenyon Green was the one I was kind of like, really? Kenyon Green right now is the backup of Landon Dickerson. So Landon Dickerson goes down right now. Kenyon Green's in the game. That's a concern for me.
That is a very concern. You mean to tell me we haven't got Keegan up to speed yet?
He's the third stringer as of right now.
I feel like Howie. I feel like that's just something. I feel like Nick trying to please Howie with it because I'm not confident. Like unless he then came in and done a 360 in Stalin University, which you might have. But for one, he's always injured. That's my main problem.
Yeah, I haven't heard anything. I mean, I don't know if you have or not. I'm just missing it, but I ain't heard nothing about Kenyon Green having a great performances, But like I said,
I heard
still early.
at all.
Yeah, it's still early, so maybe it'll change.
Well, I hope we play some starters tomorrow because I'd like to see him. But I mean, he's back up to land. I don't feel confident. Like doing the tush put, I don't feel confident. I'd rather have Keegan. Like it ain't no way that Keegan's been there longer than.
To be honest, I'd rather have Matt Pryor than either one of them. To be honest, the right guard because he can play anywhere on the line. I'd rather have Matt Pryor.
You're him.
Running back and fullback. So we got one fullback that's Ben Van Summeren. I'm pretty confident he's going to make the team, right? So that means somewhere we got to chop a spot. So we'll see where that happens at. Running backs, we know all these guys are not going to be here, but right now Saquon Barkley, of course, is our starter. Backup is A.J. Dillon. Third string is our 4th-round pick from last year, Will Shipley. Behind him, 4th is Montrell Johnson. Behind him, 5th is Shunderick Powell. And then Keelan Robinson is 6th. I'm expecting us to keep 3 running backs. Definitely can't keep more than that, especially with a fullback. So, yeah, if you're after Shipley, I think you're a camp body. Make the most of it to get yourself another opportunity somewhere else. Or maybe on a practice squad. Your thoughts, Stephen?
Yeah, one of them going to be on the practice squad. It's definitely going to be 3. We don't ever keep no more than 3 running backs, and then we'll keep one on the practice squad. So, yeah, one of them will be on the practice squad. And the rest will be at a different team.
All right. So that's pretty much that, y'all. So we're going to slide on, move on. We're going to go ahead and hit that top 100. We're going to talk a little bit about press conferences. I'll make it short and sweet from my perspective. We're hearing the same things that we like in the press conferences. We're hearing, we're not worried about last year. We focus on this year. We're getting guys kind of telling you how they feel about different players. Hurts is doing it. All the guys, some of the veteran guys is like, this is what's happening with the young guys. This is what I like what I'm seeing. We got guys out here that's dogs that's working, that's, doing everything they can to make the situation the best that it can be. Love to hear it. And that's, pretty much what it's all about.
Yeah. I mean, I love everything I'm hearing in the press conferences. My thing is I want to see everything on the field. That's what matters. That's what's important.
Yeah, definitely feel. I just feel like guys like Jalen Hurts and Landon Dickerson, Lane Johnson, they're not going to sugarcoat it. If the dudes ain't playing well, they're just going to say we need work. We still got more work to do. If they're playing well, I feel like they're going to throw it out there a little bit. So we'll see. But again, I'm not. I do want to see him in the joint practices, and I do want to see him in the game. But I feel confident that the OGs is kind of getting at him like, all right, you know what I'm saying? Feel confident on that. All right, so we're going to go ahead and continue with talk about the top 100. Slide through these cats real quick. We're going to start at 50 with Derwin James. So Derwin James is at 54. And he's a free safety from the Chargers. 16 games played, 93 tackles, 10 tackles for loss, 5.5 sacks, 7 passes defended, 1 interception, 1 fumble recovery. Any thoughts on him?
No, I mean, he deserved that spot. I mean, he played pretty well last year for the Chargers, so big ups to him for making the top 100.
Yeah. Keep in mind, this is all voted on by the players. At 53, we had linebacker Jared Verse. He had a lot of stuff to say about the Eagles and didn't work out so well for him. But he's first appearance at 53. James moved up 29 spots, by the way, Derwin James did. Jared Verse, 17 games played, 66 tackles, 11 tackles for loss, 4.5 sacks, 2 forced fumbles, and 2 fumble recoveries. Any thoughts on him besides good rookie season?
Yeah, I mean, he did all right. Except when he played the Eagles, he did all right.
Scary Terry McLaurin is up 45 spots to 52. 17 games played, 82 receptions, 1,096 receiving yards, 13 yards per reception, and 13 receiving touchdowns. So I had Terry McLaurin on my team last year, and I understand why he was where he was last year. Barely on the list, and I do agree that he played much better this year. So I think it's a well-deserved spot. And also, let's see where he ends up at because he don't want to be with the Commanders anymore unless they're going to pay him more money. Any thoughts on McLaurin?
I mean, Scary Terry deserved that. He did play well last year. He played really well for the Commanders. But yeah, we'll see where he's at come this year coming up because that ain't where he want to be. So we shall see.
For sure. All right, at number 51, down 8 spots, Kyle Hamilton from the Baltimore Ravens. Safety. 17 games played, 107 tackles, 4 tackles for loss, 2 sacks, 9 passes defended, 1 interception, 2 forced fumbles, 1 fumble recovery. I ain't got nothing else to say about Kyle Hamilton. We know about Kyle Hamilton. That man can play ball, and he's a dog. And he will hit you. He will hit you hard. Ain't really too much else I got to say about Kyle Hamilton. I don't know if you want to add anything to that.
No, I mean, it ain't too much to say about him.
But now,
he's a dog.
Well, all right, so now we are in the top 50. At number 50, Baker Mayfield, QB, Tampa Bay. He wasn't ranked last year. He jumped all the way up to 50. 17 games played, 71.4 completion percentage, 4,500 passing yards, 7.9 yards an attempt, 28 passing touchdowns, 10 interceptions, 378 rushing yards, 3 rushing touchdowns. But here's an interesting one: 13 fumbles.
That's a lot.
Yeah, it's a lot of fumbles. You're talking about 28 touchdowns and 23 turnovers. Well, actually, we'll add 31 touchdowns and 23 turnovers because we got to get rid of the first 3 touchdowns. So, Definitely one of those things that plagued Hurts 2 years ago was fumbling the ball too much. He kind of cleaned it up last year. Mayfield, hey, out of Miley Cyrus song, he came through like a wrecking ball last year. He won't fumble the ball. It caught you, Cowboy Baker.
I mean, that's a lot. I mean, this is a lot. You basically with the number of balls you done caught from the number of balls you done dropped. Like, bruh, that's a lot. I don't know. Maybe he should have been a little lower on the list, but hey, that's not.
And then next we got another first time on the list, and I'm gonna let you talk about this one. I ain't even gonna say that. I'm gonna let you have this one. I'm just gonna get his stats, and the Diva gonna have this one. At number 49, making his first appearance after his rookie season, the new number 1 corner in Philadelphia, Quinyon, 16 games played, 46 tackles, 12 passes defended. Diva, what's your thoughts on Quinyon Mitchell? A number 1 pick last year, by the way.
I knew Quinyon was going to be on there. And that just goes to show you we have 2 rookies that were drafted last year on the defense that made the top 100. Not the top, they in the top 60. On top of that, that just goes to show you the work that those guys put in. That goes to show you that you can transfer from your college year and play in grown man football and be good. And I'm glad that he's a part of Philadelphia Eagles. I expect that boy to be higher. I expect him and Coop to be higher next year on that top 100 because I know they about to ball out. And I'm hearing good things about Quinyon. So my boy gonna be higher next year. Wait on it. Just wait on it. Wait on
it. She said, "Wait on it." So at number 48, Jonathan Grenard, Minnesota Vikings linebacker, 17 games played, 59 tackles, 18 tackles for loss, 12 sacks, 4 forced fumble, 1 fumble recovery. Linebacker, he got signed to a Vikings team who has always been pretty good at linebacker. He got a Pro Bowl, first Defensive Player of the Year. He was in the Defensive Player of the Year voting. He's going to be with Minnesota for some years to come. So if he keeps playing like that, he'll probably be moving up the list as well. He was not ranked last year. You got anything you want to add on Bernard?
Congratulations. I mean, you weren't ranked last year. You made it in the top 60. That's pretty decent.
Yep. And he's a linebacker / edge. I just say linebacker for those open. All right, number 47, another man that made a a very, very strong drop. Down 46 spots from last year, Tyreek Hill. At 47. 17 games, 81 receptions, only 959 receiving yards, 11 yards per reception, 6 receiving touchdowns. My man went from the number 1 player last year to the middle of this year. And one of the big problems was Tua Tagovailoa decided to run into somebody's chest.
That's the main problem. I think that's because Tua didn't get hurt. I don't think he got hurt. He had a pretty decent year last year. But once he got hurt this year, I mean, you should have known Tyreek Hill was going to drop because they don't have a decent backup. So I expected that. I don't think that's not any fault of Tyreek Hill's. It's just that he didn't have a healthy quarterback.
At number 46, Will Anderson Jr., defensive end for the Houston Texans, making his debut as well. 14 games played, 37 tackles, 16 tackles for loss, 11 sacks, 1 forced fumble, and 1 fumble recovery. I'll just simply say that the offense last year struggled, and that's something that I want everyone to understand. Second-year quarterbacks that started their rookie year, the league catches up to them year 2, and then they have to adapt. The good ones adapt moving forward. The ones that may not be able to adapt may not be as good as initially thought. I think Stroud bounces back this year, but of course last year, not so much. Will Anderson had a really good impact. And the thing is, when you play on the defensive line, sometimes you don't have the stats. He did have 11 sacks, 16 tackles for loss, 37 total tackles. So decent stats, but sometimes you don't have as good stats as you can because you're playing on the edge and people are seeing you and saying, we got to do something about him. He was a Pro Bowler as well and a Defensive Rookie of the Year. He also paired with Danielle Hunter to make a pretty daggone good defensive line there. So it's going to be something to watch out for. I think they're just going to get better as his career goes on. But shouts out to Will Anderson. Rookies making the top 50. That doesn't happen all the time. Doesn't happen with everybody. So shout out for that.
I mean, that's a pretty impressive 16 sacks for losses. That's pretty impressive. I expect to see him even, more better. Their defense has always been good. I think with the offense, they lost some pieces last year and they just didn't have a strong O-line for Stroud on top of his struggles. But yeah, I think that this year Stroud will be back. I think they probably, if not already have, kind of put the pieces together to have a strong front line for him because it's important for your quarterback to have a strong front line. So I expect to see them better, but I do expect to see him a little higher. I mean, if your stats was like that being a rookie, I expect to see better stats this year. You know what I'm saying? There ain't no harm. You got CJGJ over there, so y'all should have some good stats.
Yep. And number 45, a guy who is only this low. He's down 38 spots because he got hurt and he didn't play as much last year. Offensive tackle for San Francisco 49ers, Trent Williams. He only played in 10 games, 649 snaps, 17 QB pressures allowed, and 1 sack allowed. That ankle injury kept him out of the Pro Bowl and kept him from being higher on this list. But when a guy only plays in 10 games and he's still top 45, top 50, top 40, and 45, that says a lot about how other people feel about him around the league. So without him, 49ers, not saying that we're missing other pieces too, but when he went down, you already knew it was over for them.
Yeah, I mean, no comment. Trent Williams be doing his thing. I mean, he's been doing his thing over there. He's always been a good player anyway, though.
Definitely. So we got a couple of comments. We'll hop on them real quick, and then we will get to the review of the Arlington football team. All right, so Edward Williams says, let's go Birds. Go Birds all the time, Edward. All the time, big dog. All right, Miguel Lara says, good evening, my fellow Eagles fans. First time on here. Hey, Miguel, appreciate you tuning in, man. Make sure you tune in as much as you want, bro.
And make sure you hit that like, subscribe, and make sure you got the notifications on all and not personalized, so every time we go live, every week.
Oh, and then share. Share is very important, too. That too.
Share the live out. Let people know where they can find us.
Yes, sir. Miguel says also Derwin James was elite last year. Don't disagree with that. He says, I can't stand Jared Verse, but he was really good as a rookie. Had Jordan M on skates only because the field conditions came into play. And then he says Jordan Davis was taking over Kyle. Yeah, I don't have a problem with that. I like Jordan Davis. I like what he brings. I like the fact that he understood he needed to get in better shape. He did that. And he didn't do it for the numbers or the looks. He kind of did on his own and just showed up like, I'm less fast.
His personality is amazing. Like, I love watching him in press. Like, he's always smiling. Like, I just love that boy's personality. He's amazing.
Definitely. All right, y'all. So we about to dig into this last game here. And y'all know how we do this. I'll let Diva kind of lead this one. Since I kind of led the first one a little bit, we'll let her get in here and give y'all her thoughts on this game against the Arlington football team, as we like to call them. But for the sake of doing the show, we'll call them Dallas Cowboys just this once.
I mean, it really ain't too much to talk about on this game because this game was a complete blowout. A complete blowout. This game was 40-7. Okay, so Kenny Pickett balled out on this game. This was the battle of the backups. You had Rush in there, and then you had Kenny Pickett. Kenny Pickett was 10 for 15 for 143 yards, 1 touchdown. Tanner McKee even came in, got in on it, and had 54 yards, 2 touchdowns. Okay, so we had not one, but 2 backups that came in and beat the Dallas Cowboys. Saquon had 167 yards, no tutty, but he did have 167 yards. He had Kenny Gainwell came in, had 4 rushing. Kenny Pickett had 3 rushing. Tanner McKee had a -2. Devontae Smitty had 2 touchdowns for 120 yards. AJ Brown had 36 for 1 touchdown. Calcaterra had 34 yards, no TDs. Gainwell had 5 receiving yards, no TDs. Saquon had 2. On the defense, you had Quinyon Mitchell, who had 5 tackles, and I'll let Cole get y'all the rest. But I mean, that game was, like I said, there ain't too much to talk about. That game was a complete blowout. Dallas got blown out by 2 backup quarterbacks. Not one, but 2.
I will give Rico Dallas some props. He had 23 carries for $104 that game. The lead receiver only had 52 yards, but that's because Rush only had 147 yards passing, 1 tutty, 2 interceptions. It was interesting. It kind of showed the difference between the 2 teams, right? You could just kind of see, like, Dallas this past season just wasn't on the level with the Eagles. They just weren't. It was just crazy, right? Look at wide receiver, and it's crazy how it goes from game to game. This week, Devontae Smith, 6 for 120, 2 tutties. AJ Brown had 3 for 36, still got a touchdown. So if you got him in fantasy, you're still all right. But you know what I'm saying? Calcaterra had 1 for 34. You know, it just goes from week to week between Smith and Brown. And what I love about it is you can tell that Jalen isn't just narrowing in on one guy. He's just hitting whoever's open. Tackle-wise, Quinyon Mitchell had 5. Hunt had 4 and then 2 assisted. DeJean had 3, 2 assisted. Same with Josh Sweat. Oren Burks. That's a name we won't hear this year.
Go on.
Would be a starter. But, hey, he could have got that here, but he probably would have started, and he wanted the opportunity to start, so I get it. Thomas Booker had 2 tackles, 3 assisted tackles. Burke had 2 and then 6 assisted. Slay had 2 and 1 assisted. Vaughn had 1 and 6 assisted tackles. Trotter had 1, 2 assisted. Blankenship had 1 with 2 assisted. And other than that, we had a couple people that had 1. Nolan Smith Jr., Milton Williams, Maddox, Sidney Brown, Gardner Johnson. And then we had some people that had a couple of assisted tackles in the Jomo and Jordan Davis. But the thing that sticks out to me here, besides the score, if I remember, this is the game where, ain't this the one where Michael Parsons was talking about, except for 3 or 4 plays? The game was pretty even.
Mm-hmm.
Kind of football, Michael. Just so you know.
CeeDee Lamb was frustrated.
Well, I mean, it's hard to do a lot against this Eagles defense the way it was firing by this point in the season. You know what I'm saying? Because at the end of the day, the offense sometimes is explosive, but the defense is always getting it done. They gave up 7 in the first and no more points in the rest of the game. So after the first quarter, it's like, you ain't scoring no more. And they did not. You know what I'm saying? So
right.
You got to understand, like, that's the defense that people were facing last year. And then with the offense, the run game, and the passing game, big electric plays, like, Dallas didn't stand a chance. Like, they really didn't. Like, we got Cowboys fans that was running around, oh, we going to do y'all like the Commanders did, and y'all don't sweep the Cowboys and blase this and blase that. Just so you know, guys, you can't say that anymore because we swept your asses the past year on the way to the Super Bowl. So not only did we win the Super Bowl, but we swept the Cowboys. How sweet is that in the same season?
And we swept them without Jalen Hurts on the last game.
Not only did we sweep the Cowboys in them, we also swept the AFC East. Whooped all them tricks. Every one of them. Joe Burrow, and Lamar Jackson. And the other two teams in the division. The Steelers, we gonna brag about being Russell Wilson and then Cleveland. But, I mean, we beat the whole division.
I mean, yeah, because I think that was a game that Sean went out, right? Took him out.
Yeah. So yeah, man, we got one more game, the first playoff game next week. We getting at the end, and things worked out with time and everything, and it was interesting because when we're talking about doing this and everything, it's like, yeah, we got to switch to this too, so we can get through everything before the preseason really get jumping, right? But we got a couple more weeks. We got a couple more weeks of the offseason because it ain't quite time for the first game. But just remember, y'all, the first game is a Thursday night game where we will be the opening game, and we will be playing Dallas. Oh, and by the way, for those of y'all who might not know, Shaquille O'Neal gonna be wearing a dress after the first game. Shout out to you, Shaq, for saying that if the Cowboys lose, you're gonna wear a dress. So you know what that means? Go and get that dress from Chuck. Go and get your blush. Go and get your wig. I don't know if you're doing the whole thing, not what you're doing, but you doing it. You doing it, Shaq. It'll be a big
I don't
man in a
remember
dress.
being no Cowboys fan, but okay, do you? Go off, sir.
You know you're from Texas. You know, that's
No,
where
I
yeah.
I mean,
Right.
he was just a Louisiana fan. I ain't know.
Well, he never was no New Orleans fan. He went to LSU, but he was never no New Orleans fan. He never said nothing about New Orleans.
Oh, well, I would have claimed him and claimed Dallas, but do you, bro?
Hey, all I know is I'll be glad to see, I'll be laughing to see him in the dress. And he's smart about it because it's still going to help him because he's going to do it in front of his hotel. So people are going to be taking pictures looking at his hotel. And he's going to try to get more people there. So he's smart at what he's doing, using the business, a business as the backdrop. This is classic Shaq. But, hey, I wouldn't make no bet to wear no dress if the team lost, but it's just me. I guess Shaq don't even care. Hey, get the dress ready, Shaq. I think he said he's gonna wear the same one that Chuck wore. So go and get that Chuck dress. Call Chuck up and get that dress. Get the, whatever alterations you need or whatever. Because you're gonna be
Yeah, you're going to need some alterations.
You're gonna need that, big dog. You're gonna need that. But yeah, though, another episode in the books. Shout out to everybody who tuned in. Make sure that you are subscribed to the channel. There's the Eagles Elite channel. So if you are subscribed and you watch my other stuff on Play Callers, these are two different channels. Make sure that you subscribe to both. We can use those numbers on both. We appreciate that. Shout out to everybody who's starting to fly back into us as we get to the season. Let's get these numbers up, man. Let's get these numbers up. Let's get some interaction. All that good stuff going on. We may have a few guys come on for the season, talk about the matchups and all that. We'll see how things play out. Because at some points, it's like, you know what? We got us. Some weeks we don't even need nobody else. But some weeks it might be fun. Just mix it up a little bit. Diva, any last words?
We'll be back next week. We'll have a little more to talk about. We got our first preseason game, so we'll get a little bit better of insight of, what we can expect. And I'm excited. I'm ready that I don't care if it's preseason or not. Football is back. Life was a little lonely without football. So I'm glad it's back. But yeah, always stay tuned in, be elite, fly Eagles fly, and we'll see you guys next week.
So your boy football never stopped, but I feel where Diva coming from. NFL is back.
Yeah.
And we have a last comment here. So it's never where you start, y'all. It's always where you finish. And don't forget to tell those 4 friends and 4 people you think may like you but don't. We will be back next week, as Diva so eloquently put it. Fly Eagles fly. # be elite. And the brother and sister duo, we out on y'all this week. We'll be back with you next week. Make sure you're here.